Mitch. What's up, Maris K? So I was just kind of like finishing up that editing and listening to fucking Clubhouse again, listening to the morons on that app, and the particular room that people were talking about was about dates. Like in 2024, it's so different. Like there's so much like contention going back and forth of whether you should take women out on dates. And and this guy had a really great perspective, and it's a very similar perspective as my own. And I don't believe that dates are meant to entertain the woman. And this comes with a particular mindset, right? You can't you can't you can't be you can't be making the woman just special in your mind at all. Not at all. She has to be just a regular person that you're trying to sort out. And that's really the purpose of the date. The purpose of the date is to sort out whether she's qualified or good enough, or if there's compatibility, whatever you want to call it, such that you want to continue having engagement with her. That's really the only point of the date. Now, if you want to have fun during that time, do something that you have fun doing. Like that's really all there is to it. Um, but the thing is that typically the way culture has been formulated, there's a lot of money to be made in over generations, and I don't think even the programming was done maliciously. I think that's just how it is. It's that kind of mentality. That's just what you're supposed to do, and you just continue this generation over generation, and people adding into this. It seems like it's manufactured, but I really don't think it is. I don't think there's like some masterminds behind this sort of thing. And uh and so so guys have been just doing the I guess what you would call blue pill behavior, and having women be put on pedestals, and and told that guys should be there to court them. And this is an old mentality, and it's really not to the benefit of most guys. Sorry, just saying goodnight to the little squirrel. Okay. So, all right, so that's taken care of. She's off to bed. But anyways, so yeah, and I think like people just caught on. They're like, well, fuck, there's a shit ton of money to make off of this. If we can just kind of keep this going in our own little way. And perhaps as people caught on, then it became a little bit malicious or greedy to kind of play off of the ignorance of guys. And that's where it became a problem. That's really where it's an issue. And it's like what they say, what do they say, like an idiot is born every minute, or something along those lines. And so that's why I've always got an influx of new clients. That's why there's people coming to YouTube looking up like how to talk to girls, like how to ask them out on dates and shit like that. What's up, Shepard? Good to see you, man. Um, and and they don't know any better, so they just get roped into the same bullshit. And then they're like, well, fuck, being a great guy isn't really panning out for me, right? Doing all the things that I think I should be doing just really isn't benefiting the situation. It's not really turning her on, despite what a lot of girls might say. They're like, if he's generous and kind, and like treats me with respect and that sort of thing. You know why girls say this, right? Because we hear women say this a lot. Like we hear them say, oh, I love a man who will treat me with respect, who's kind, he's generous, and that sort of thing. It's because she has experience with, at some point, with bad boys, right? With a guy who's taking her on a ride on some emotional roller coaster. She's really fallen for the guy, or so she thinks, right? It's more so limerence. And then he's just like not really into her and isn't communicating very well and leading the situation very well, because just because a guy's a bad boy doesn't mean he's a good leader. Doesn't mean he's got good game, right? He doesn't know how to manufacture the situation such as it's beneficial for everyone involved, right? That's good leadership, right? It brings out the best in people. So he's kind of like just doing whatever, not really giving a shit about what happens, or he may not even know. He might be in a position of ignorance, and then her experience of that is being strung along, and he just might not know what to do or not care. And then that's the person she's talking about, because he's not giving her respect. He's not giving her kindness. He's not giving her generosity. So in her mind, she's like, oh my gosh, that guy, like, oh, he turns me on so much. He fucks the shit out of my mind and my body. I only wish that I could get the kindness and generosity from him. So that's what they mean when they're talking about that. They're not talking about the nice guy who's already kind and generous and respectful. She's not talking about him. So you guys who are, relating to this and thinking, well, shit, I'm that guy. I'm kind and generous and respectful, but she doesn't like me. If you guys are seasoned enough or have watched enough information, you know why she's not into, you or that kind of guy. And it's just, there's just something distasteful about that, right? There's just something fundamentally distasteful for someone who just wants to just readily get behind you without knowing very much at all, about you. And that's where it's problematic. And this happens in men's lives, like not even just in dating, just in any situation. You're kind of suspect, and you're kind of like turned off a little bit. And it's better. And in most situations where a person can earn something, they have to work a little bit to get what they want. They value that sort of thing, right? Like I told the story about how, many years ago, my daughter, it was like the first generation of iPads. And my daughter, she was little, and she's like, oh, Daddy, I want an iPad. And of course, I could have just bought her one. But I said, you know what? You're going to have to earn it. And so I made like a list of chores, and each of these chores had a certain dollar amount. So like the harder ones had, higher dollar amount. The easier ones had a smaller dollar amount. So she could then figure out like how she wanted to play it. Like, did she want to dive in? And it was also an experiment for me to see which she would go after. Like, would she go after the hard stuff and to try to build up the money as fast as possible, or go for the easy route and make it take longer? It turned out that it was mixed, and and that's fine. But she worked for a while. I think she worked for like 2 months doing this shit like every day. And then she built up the money, and then she had enough money to buy the iPad. Right. And she was feeling very proud of herself. She went to the store and picked it out and gave the money to the teller. It was a whole thing. And she fucking loved that thing. She like wore out the screen, And so, I mean, she didn't, but you know what I'm saying? You can't wear a glass, not with your finger anyways. But the point is that she valued the fuck out of that thing because she worked for it. And it's just, there's a turnoff. There's I don't know. There's just something about not having a system to set up reward, that when you're just given something, you just don't value it. You really don't. You don't get the sense of accomplishment or pride or anything like that. So if you guys are just handing shit out, it takes that away. It takes away that opportunity. Now, granted, this isn't going to work if you're not attractive to her to begin with, right? So you can't be thinking like, oh, well, if I just withhold shit and like make her earn stuff, you can only make someone someone will only attempt to earn something when they want it. right? If I was like, here, to my daughter, you can earn this thing over here, and she doesn't even want it, she's not going to bother making the efforts to do it, to do the things to earn it. So the desire has to be there in the first place. Okay. So, and you're not going to get desire out of doing nice things. That's just not how desire works. Okay. And there's no like set formulas. I mean, yeah, there's some things that are common between women that's appealing or arousing, but it certainly isn't going on dates, right? That's not what creates intrigue. Um, and so, but you have to have some kind of interaction. You have to have some kind of interaction to create intrigue, right? And that's where the date comes in handy. This is why it makes sense to do something very low key and not go over the top, right? And I know, like, so here's something I picked up on as well. All right, there's two women who expect extravagant dates, right? One are poor women who just don't regularly experience that, so they're like, oh, well, if a guy is taking me on a date, I want it to be really special, right? Because going to what's a like a high end or expensive restaurant in Manhattan, like like the Blue Water Grill, right? Like that's a pretty expensive restaurant. Like she's gonna think that's special, all right? And that's where she wants to go. And she has like this pumped up ego and is like, well, this is where I want to go because this is what I deserve, right? Because I'm a cute girl, right? But that's nowhere near her normal experiences. Like she would never be able to go in there on her own volition or her own dime. Okay. So that's the first type, right? Who says they want this sort of experience because they never had it and they have an overblown ego thinking that's what they deserve. The other type of woman who would expect an extravagant, say, dinner date, for example, is women who regularly engage in these environments. Like it's no big deal for them. It's like going to Blue Water Grill is normal. Like that's just a normal dinner. Like to drop $200-$300 on a dinner is just normal. It's not a big deal, right? Buying a $75 bottle of wine, that's normal Friday night. Like you don't drink anything less than $75 bottles of wine, right? So that's like the low ends because it's like casual that evening, right? Those type of women, that's what they would expect because that's normal for them. All right. But most people, or I'm hoping most people aren't dealing with like poor ass women who have this warped sense of reality. And sure, if you're dating women who are like in a higher, social class, then that's what you're going to deal with. But if you're already there, then it doesn't matter because that's normal for you as well. Okay. For the vast majority of people who fall somewhere in the middle, don't work outside of your means because it's not going to produce anything more or better. It won't. Okay. Unless that's something you particularly want to do. All right. So if on, certain weekend nights, you sometimes take yourself out to a nice place, or you say like buy expensive tickets to a show, or you go out to like a nice dinner, or say you go to say like an average dinner, but you drop extra coin on really expensive drinks because you partake in top shelf alcohol like that. If that's normal for you, then that's what you can do, right? Because you're just doing what you do and you're bringing a woman along. Okay. And if you don't feel like doing that, you don't have to, right? Like the dates that I've gone on and the date that it's not even a date that I took my girlfriend out on. We just met up for cocktails, and it wasn't really a date because she knew it was an assessment, right? Because really we didn't even start with the intention of dating. It was really the intention of creating a DS dynamic because she wasn't very familiar with that. And I was like, okay, well, this is an opportunity for you to interview me to see if it's something you want to do. And that's all it was. And I was assessing her during that time to see if she would be a good fit for it, right? Because like that, just because she's cute doesn't really, it's not very useful criteria. So that's the thing. Like beauty is not very useful. That's the problem with you guys. You think that it's useful. It's not. It's just something nice to look at. That's it. Right? And here's the thing. After a while, that's going to be your normal if you continue to see this woman. You know, you get you get yourself a Ferrari. For a while, it's going to be awesome. But you keep that thing for a few years and you drive it all the time, eventually that's just going to be one of your regular cars. It's not going to have that pizzazz like it did, right? And same with a woman's looks, right? Sure, you can still appreciate, but it's not going to hit you the way it did. That's because it doesn't really have much use. Woman's beauty does not have much use. And so, the thing for dates is assessment. You know, like really, if you're in the right mindset, dating is for assessing if she's good enough and to see if she can fit into certain criterias. All right. And I've mentioned my 5 criteria. It's very easy. All right. And has nothing to do with her appearance whatsoever. And that's sexual attraction, curiosity, open-mindedness, the ability to take direction, and curiosity. Or did I say curiosity already? Yeah. Sexual attraction, curiosity, open-mindedness, willingness to take direction. Oh, and enthusiasm. Those are the 5. And so that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to see if she has an enthusiastic attitude. I'm looking to see if she can take direction. I'm looking to see if she's open-minded, if she has some curiosity. And then the sexual attraction you can feel. So this is really what you can use. Like those things you can actually utilize moving forward. You cannot utilize a woman's good looks. Everything else is actionable. Something appealing you can't utilize it in any way. There's nothing actionable from that. The only action that's happening is your eyes are processing, the light reflecting off of her body, and it goes through into your brain and makes some sort of recognition. That's the end of the action. Whenever you see something appealing, whether it's a piece of fruit or a painting or a car or a woman or, a good looking dog or, a nice fucking frying pan, it doesn't matter. That's all that's happening. That's the only action that's happening. No, Shepherd. Reproductive, because what if her uterus doesn't work? Reproductive value is function, right? Sure, it says like she might have good genetics, but that's no guarantee of reproductive value. You're making an assumption based upon her appearance. And these days, with the ease of reconstructive surgery, the ease of fillers and lifts and pulls and all that bullshit, she, like a few years ago, she could have been fucking disgusting, right? But no, not reproductive value. It's only something that you interpret. Okay, it's just something you do in your head. That's the only action. You can't do anything with it. Okay, because if you're looking at reproductive value, you can basically look at any woman who has a functioning uterus and she has reproductive value, right? That doesn't have any connection to good looks, right? So, but all that other shit, right? Those things can be utilized to the benefit of everybody involved. Okay. So, should you be taking women on dates? I don't know. Like, you don't have to, but it's a socially acceptable thing to do. It is fun if you're relaxed, if you're confident, if you can have a good conversation, if you know how to flirt, if you can play around and, maybe get a little bit dominant, which would be, if you are, it'd be a good way to assess if she can take directions. Um, it's just a nice little playground, really, right? But for guys, they're so hard up. They're so hard up for attention that they put so much pressure on themselves, on the situation, and they just fuck it up. They really fuck it up, right? It should be just something easygoing that you enjoy, all right? But I know a lot of you guys are stuck. You're stuck in your brains with all kinds of shit, and it's really unproductive. But the thing is with all this stuff, it's highly contingent on your self concept, right? So like tonight, I was talking with a client, and I was we were discussing, what were we discussing? Oh, talking in the bedroom. Okay, so basically, like, one of the girls that he's sleeping with, she talks in the bedroom, but not in a very good way, in a way that's appealing to him. She kind of like mimics porn star shit, and that's just kind of cringy. It's not genuine. And he's like, yeah, I don't like it. And so I gave him some options. And, one of them was to just like basically shut it down, but more compassionately. And then the other way is to utilize her ability to speak, but then move it in a way that's better, that's actually sexier, right? Just genuinely sexy. And moving her into a position of, instead of acting, coming from an authentic place of begging for it, right? And getting her into that mindset through various means of directing her and driving in the submission, right? And I concocted this whole scene for him, right? And the way he could kind of move through it and all this sort of thing. And he's like, wow, that's like really freaking hot, right? That like just hearing about it like is exciting. It's turning him on. And I said, yeah, it's important to have this, but you can't have it, right? You can't, let me just say this. You can't create it in your reality unless you're completely willing to bet on yourself. Take all your chips and push them into the middle of the table and bet on yourself, because you cannot lead or dominate if you have insecurities and self-doubt. It's impossible. It's like oil and water. So in order to not have insecurities and self-doubt, it means that you need to have a strong self-concept. Well, in order to have a strong self-concept, you then need to start with analyzing and observing how you communicate with yourself. And you may not even realize that you have shitty communication with yourself because it's so habitualized. Like, he even said something to me. What is it that he said? I was like, hey, how's it going? And, we're just doing like a general check-in first before the lesson. And he said, I'm a little down because I'm not progressing as fast as I should, or as fast as I want to, something along those lines. And I go, that right there, that's a habit of yours creating a belief around yourself, this belief of disappointment and expectations. And he didn't even realize that he was doing this. He didn't realize that he was creating this narrative out of something instead of just taking himself as he is through the process that he's doing with me. And I pointed that out to him, and he's like, holy shit, like, that means that I do this all the time. And so it begins with that. It begins with first understanding how you talk to yourself and what communication you have and what that narrative is, and just observing it to begin with. All right. And actually, daily meditation helps with this, because that's actually the easiest, simplest, most distilled conversation you can have with yourself, which is just paying attention to your breathing and watching your erratic mind. Okay. So it's like the meditation, and then when you're in non-meditative stages, your regular daily living, first getting used to observing how you talk, and then making mental note, maybe journaling about it, just so you can get into the habit of this thing. Then taking time to actively change it. All right. And there are techniques in doing so. Then once that changes and that starts changing your beliefs, and now your perceptions start changing around yourself, and then that starts turning into self-love, self-confidence, and the self-doubt starts going away. The insecurities start going away because you're not allowing them to exist in the anymore. Not in the first place, but anymore. And you're replacing them with new narratives. Because I told him, when you absorbed that stuff from various sources as you were growing up over the, however many decades, that was just smoke being blown up your ass. It wasn't based in any kind of reality. There were beliefs that you adopted over time. Okay, so if that's smoke, then why can't you actively blow smoke up your own ass? Right? The mind is very plastic. So if you can adopt beliefs and then they are understood to be true, even though they're not, then you can do the same thing. Okay. I was telling him that it's like the mind is like clay. And so with this previous stuff, previous influences, then it gets kind of molded into something that's unpleasant. And then, so if that's the case, it's still clay. It hasn't changed its state. It hasn't like turned into alabaster all of a sudden. Okay. It's still clay, which means you can form it into something else, something that's more pleasing and more serving to your benefit. Okay. So now you have that confidence, you have the self-belief, because now the things that you have, injected into your mind, this is now held to be true. This is what you believe to be true. Okay. And this is not to be confused with the Dunning-Kruger effect. All right. If you don't know what that is, look it up. This is just changing how you talk with yourself and what you believe about yourself, not some overblown self-importance. That's different. All right. It's more about self-care and self-preservation. And that's where you start having true confidence, and doubt goes away. Insecurities go away. And then you can bet on yourself with whatever the fuck you want to do. And if that looks like being in the bedroom and so-called taking a risk by telling her to get on her knees and beg to be fucked, I mean, that's the end result. There's many steps that lead up to that, so that her mind's kind of falls into this place. Then you can do that. I mean, if that's what you want to do. That was our example that I was using with him. But you can literally create anything you want. You can create any scenario that you want. And I know some of you guys are going to like, oh man, I'll just fast track it and I'll just do that. Yeah, but guess what? You still have that little goblin in your head that doesn't fucking believe you, and you know it. And that's going to fuck up everything. There is no, like, in terms of the external doing, there's no fake it till you make it in terms of manhood. Okay? The only time that kind of makes sense, but it's worded differently, is kind of when I was telling you about blowing smoke up your own ass about your self-concept and about how you feel and talk about yourself. That's sort of kind of like faking it till you make it. But you're not faking it. You're actually just trying to reprogram, right? But it's in the same sense of like taking nothing and turning into something. So that's where they're similar. Okay. So, you think this is, a matter of doing externally. I guess that's my point. That you might think that it's something to be done externally, and it's really not. It's really just an internal game, right? What do the people call it? I think they call it something like inner game. I think I've heard that before. It's not necessary to like come up with all of these like special, like, trendy terms or what have you. I don't even think it's trendy anymore. Maybe a few years ago. But it's really just recentering and reclaiming that conversation that you have with yourself. Then when it comes to dating and shit, going out, talking to women, it doesn't fucking matter. See, like guys who know what I'm talking about and operate from a similar area from my side of the street, they know that it doesn't fucking matter what you do. All it is just an opportunity for you to express yourself in such a way that you can see what she's about. That's it. So you could literally do anything. So it's like, yeah, just pick something. It doesn't fucking matter. It only matters to guys who are trying to impress, right? I think I heard somewhere some guy was saying, express, don't impress. So I think that's probably a good angle to take. Yeah. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. But I just was listening to that Clubhouse thing, and I just could not believe how many people were in the room arguing about whether you should take a woman on a date or not. And just by the nature of the conversation, like the fact that there's like arguing concepts about this sort of thing just shows me that you are stuck in theory land. Don't get stuck in theory land. Like, fuck all of this theory. Fuck it all. Like, it doesn't do anything for you. Like, oh my gosh, you're so fucking cool. You graduated summa cum laude from the school of YouTube. Whoop-de fucking do. How many women do you talk to a week? Like, really, like the things that get you there, the things that get you to the other side of the street is that thing that I mentioned before about the self-analysis and the observation about how you talk with yourself, right? And slowly changing that, right? The other aspect is radical self-honesty. Like, you could know all kinds of shit. You're fucking grandmaster womanese from YouTube University. But you know the fucking truth. You know that you're sitting with your dick in your hands night after night. You're not doing shit. And then you know you're not doing shit, so you come up with justifiable excuses as to why. Oh, the 2024, there's piss in the dating pool. Oh, the women are trash. There's no women out here who are quality. They're all hoes. Well, they're all on OnlyFans anyways, so why bother? Or they're dating a bunch of other dudes, so why bother? There's 100 guys in her DMs, so why bother? Right? You come up with all these seemingly reasonable excuses why you're just sitting on your ass. And the reality is you're scared. You're scared. And so then, but if you were honest, it would actually lead you down a pathway to truth. And the pathway to truth is the pathway to success. Because you say, well, okay, all right, so I'm scared. Why am I scared? What's up with that? That's weird. Okay, so let me think about that. Let me write about that for a little bit. Why am I scared? Why would I be scared of a little girl? Right? I mean, like actual little girls, but you know what I'm saying. Why am I scared of a girl? And so you look into that. You start thinking about that. Where did this fear come from? When did that start? Why is your emotions at all involved in this? Like, why? Any emotion at all. I'm saying, like, including happiness, joy, sadness, fear, anger, anxiety, like all that shit. Hope, despair. Like, why is it even connected to women at all? Like, that's weird. So where did that shit come from? And start digging and start digging and start digging. You're going to find some really interesting answers. And hopefully you can unravel some of it and understand yourself better. And they go, man, like I've got some like kind of twisted stuff, which led me to certain beliefs and certain perceptions, which led to certain behaviors. And I've just been continuing this shit for years. So it's like no wonder I'm scared of women. It's no wonder. So it's like it's not simple. It's not just like, oh man, watch that guy's video and copy the things that he says to say to girls, and then you'll be good. Because once you get into this, and like let's say you start playing the field a lot and talking to women, and let's say you have the wisdom to learn, okay, you start learning about yourself, and you start realizing that a lot of this has to do with you, and you start growing, and you're like, oh my gosh, holy shit, like this really hasn't anything to do with girls. Wow, this whole thing, all these experiences, it's just about me. And then you start digging and learning and expanding your knowledge of yourself, and you become wise. Then it's like these women, it's like not a big deal. It's nothing. It's just like gazelles and squirrels and shit. Like it's not that big of a deal, and you just can pick one. Like, all right, I like that one. You guys make things complicated in the areas that need to be simple, and too simple in the areas that are complicated. Right? You look at yourself and you're like, yeah, all right, whatever. You're simplifying it. That's where things are complicated. And you look at women, and that's actually where things are simple. And you look at that and think it's complicated. You're all fucked up. What you saying here, Shepard? Thank you for the comment. We are stimulated by express genetics, but yeah, a lot of post-op today. Oh, post operations, yes. By express genetics, sure, but it's like, I don't know. I don't even know if we've got gyms, we've got fashion, we've got waist trainers, we've got like women have been altering their appearance forever. Like you don't like until you're like spending a lot of time with them, you don't actually get to see a natural woman until they're like in your midst, and you're seeing them like early in the morning or like a late morning on a Sunday, and they're just kind of like in their pajamas and kicking it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, women have been putting on makeup since fucking forever, like eons, right? To change their appearance. So, what happened to your baby's mama? Were you married? Well, first of all, I don't call baby's mama. The mother of my children, yeah, she's still around. We co-parent. I was married many years ago. We're fine. Very good co-parents, and the kids are fucking awesome. Yeah, one is let's see, one's turning 13 in December, and the other one turns 16 in April, and learning to drive around and shit. So it's cool, but I don't know why that's relevant. But yeah, when you got yourself sorted out, like you really can do whatever you want. It's really not a big deal at all. It's I was explaining to these, so here we go. So like once you have like yourself sorted out, then you can more easily create a program, right? So the guys like they're like trying to create some kind of program, even though they don't know what the fuck a program is. And usually it's just simply based around sex, because that's the only thing that they're after, because they have no values or anything like that. So, but really, like a program is a culmination of your needs, desires, your values, your kinks, and your rules. That's basically what makes up a program. All right. And the expressed setup and the need for a program is progression, right? That's what a program does in any other aspect. It's designed to progress. And so you can't create the program unless the one who's creating it is actually authentic to himself. Right. And we just broke down how guys aren't authentic to themselves. So if you're not authentic to yourself, you're living in a fucking illusion, and you try to create a program. That means the program is not going to be genuine. It's not going to be authentic. It's going to be authentic to your fucking nice guy bullshit. It's going to be authentic to your trauma. It's going to be authentic to your warped fucking beliefs about yourself and about women and about all sorts of shit. Okay. And therefore, it's not going to be healthy. It's not going to be anything that will actually progress you. It's not going to be anything that progresses her. It's not going to be conducive to anything, really. All right. It's going to likely be just based off of selfish need, and not selfish in a good way. All right. It's going to be selfish based off of, fucked up pathologies, basically. So that's why you have to sort yourself out first. That's why women are constantly being led into fucking brick walls or off cliffs or into a fucking void. And then they get pissed off and they're hurt and they're like, where the fuck are the men? Right? And it's because of that. It's because of poor leadership. Like, sort your fucking shit out, guys. If you want women in your life and have no problems, you have to sort out yourself. That's the only way. And it's not like, oh man, well, fuck that. I'll just like have a lot of money and just call the shots. Okay, but it's not going to progress. It's not going to get deep in any sort of meaningful way. It's not going to affect anyone. There's very few things in life that are actually valuable, like really valuable. And what's up, 100% me? Salute. There's and one of those things is leaving a lasting impression on other people. Right? Where like I remember my ex-wife's grandfather. He was really, really influential in his town. And so much so that they dedicated a tennis court to him. And like the plaque is still there and everything is like embedded in the ground and shit. And so many people came to his funeral, and so many people loved him throughout his life because he was so influential in such a good way to so many people, where they're looking back and going, holy fuck, like I don't know where I would be without this man in my life. That's something that's valuable. All right. So let's kind of like pare that down to something less, over the top. If you can do this with the people in your intimate life, this is where value is, right? You're talking about like, oh, high value, man. Yes. High value comes, well, one of the ways, but one of the best ways is to affect their life in a positive way, where you change the way they feel about themselves. You change their perceptions, you change their beliefs, you help them progress, right? And that is in any sort of like meaningful, like strategic way. It's like they're coming to you and you're assisting them. Like, this is incredibly valuable. This is fucking like incredible shit when dealing with like human interaction. And it's like, yeah, but I just want to fuck. It's like, man, get your fucking head out of your ass. Like, your simple desires limit you. Your simple carnal desires and following them limits you. And by the way, if you're following pussy, you can't lead. It's impossible. I'll say it again. If you're following pussy, you can't lead. ever. I don't care if you're dominating her in the bedroom. That's not leading. Okay? Because the moment the session ends, then the leading and the domination stops. All right? So that doesn't really mean much. I'm glad you're having fun in that way. That's great. But you're not leading. You're not influencing. You're not creating progression. You're not creating change. You're doing nothing. You're doing fuck all, actually. So if you guys are, you're really interested in leading, you're really interested in influencing people so they can look back and go, fuck, I'm so glad that I met fucking Kevinism. I'm so glad that I met Dukalux because I don't know where I'd be without them. That's fucking power. That's fucking influence. Not coming on her face. I'm in giving those examples. Like I'm hoping that it becomes really, really clear to you. And you're like, well, I don't want that. Okay, well, not everyone's cut out to be a man. Maybe you're just one of these males who scurries around, who just wants to come. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. You will be forgotten. That's it. You will be fucking forgotten. And if you're all right with that, that's fine. Totally cool. All right. But if you're not all right with being forgotten, that you want to leave an impression on your time that's here, it's very short, by the way. All right. And I know, like, when you're in your 20s, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm fucking immortal. It doesn't hit you until you're about 40. And you're like, holy shit, like, I'm going to be fucking dead. Right. At least it didn't hit me until I was about 40. I thought it was invincible up to then. But anyways, it dawned on me that I wanted to leave a lasting impression. And, of course, that's going to happen with my kids. But it's like I want other people to do that, right? And it's because I like it. Like, I like helping people. Maybe that's why I'm in this job and, I do what I do. But you don't have to be a coach in order to help people and influence people. And it like goes a lot further. Having this kind of influence, it doesn't cost anything. And it goes a lot farther than taking her out on whatever kind of fucking date. Or like it pales in comparison to, or well, this pale like a yacht ride or whatever, like, oh, like I'll take her on my fucking yacht, right? Like the yacht pales in comparison to influence. I know I've mentioned this before, but you guys need to watch the first Conan the Barbarian movie. You really got to watch that, and the scene where the cult leader calls the girl off the cliff, Actually, let me see if I can find that. Give me a second, and I'm going to find that scene. What should it be? Like, steel isn't power. Something along those lines. Oh, the best scene. Steel isn't strong, boy. Okay. All right, here we go. And fantastic. All right. So let's cut the music. What's up here? Yes, Shepard with Arnold. Yep, his the first Conan movie. But yeah, I found it. Let's share screen and we'll do this. We'll go here. So you can see my face still. No. There we go. All right, and we'll just change this really quick. All right. Tell me if you can hear this okay.
There was a time, boy, when I searched for steel. And steel meant more than even gold or jewels. The riddle of steel. Yes. You know what it is, don't you, boy? Shall I tell you? It's the least I can do. Steel isn't strong, boy. Flesh is stronger. Look around you. There, on the rocks. That beautiful girl. Come to me, my child. That is strength, boy. That is power. The strength and power of flesh. What is steel compared to the hand that wields it? Look at the strength of your body, the desire in your heart. I gave you this. Such a waste. Contemplate this on the tree of woe. Crucify him.
Fantastic. That's what I'm talking about, right? So the steel, swords, and things like that, like that's the fancy dates. That's the fucking six-pack abs. That's the fucking Armani suit. That's the Lamborghini. That's the fucking yacht. That's the fucking trips. That's the fucking fancy shoes and the Rolex watch and the the $600 bottle of cologne and all that stuff. And you think that gives you power. Now, swords, they do have their purpose, right? They're not functionless, right? They do serve a purpose, all right? They are useful. Just like having a great pair of shoes is useful over a piece of shit shoes, right? But that's not power. And you think it's power. It's actually the man. He said, the sword, it doesn't compare to the flesh that wields it. And he pounded on his chest. I gave you that heart. I gave you that drive. That's what's powerful. That's what creates influence. And he killed a girl, not with any threats. He just beckoned her. Come to me, my child. Come on. In a very it's going to be okay. And boom, she's dead. Didn't have to pick up a single weapon. All right. This is influence. All right. So yes, it's fine. If you want to have nice clothes, you want to get ripped, you want to, have a great car, whatever, that's fine. But know that it's extremely limited. Sure, you might get ass, but that only matters if you're fucking led by pussy, which means all of those actions are actions in futility because you already have the fucking leash around your neck before you even left the door to get into your fancy car to go get some pussy. Right? The phrase men are dogs is incorrect. Males are dogs. Males are dogs affixed to leashes. And you pant over the first sign of pussy. Now, I don't blame you because it's just been pumped into your brains left and right. You can't help yourself. Okay? But once you become aware of this problem, you actually have to will your mind to be stronger. Do you think that, I can't remember his name, but, James Earl Jones's character, do you think that he's got a weak mind? No. His mind is made of harder steel than Conan's sword. And that doesn't mean being a badass and being really firm. Strength is not the same as being badass. Strength is not being threatening. Strength is just strength. It's the ability to withstand and the ability to exert one's will. The cult leader, he bets on himself. So much so that other people start betting on him. And that's what happens with influence. When you are influential and you know how to lead well from a well thought out program, she starts betting on you too. That's called trust. She's like, I am yours. Here is my will. Here is my body. Here is my spirit. Here are my emotions. They are yours. And you better know what you're doing. If you know what you're doing, there's a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun and progression. There's work also. Because you think that cult leader just kind of sits on his ass and kicks up his feet? No, he probably works every fucking day to keep his own mind straight and to keep the minds of those followers in line. It's not less work being the king. It's more work being the king. I hope you know that. So if you're lazy and you don't like responsibility, you don't want power, you don't want to be influential, and that's okay. That's all right. If you're like, no, fuck that shit. Like, I don't want to be in that much control. You have every right because it's your life. But be real, right? Remember, I said it begins with radical self honesty. If you're not cut out for it, don't make yourself want it because you think you should. Okay? So ponder on that. Think about those things. All right. I'm going to cut this stream here. Thank you guys for being here with me at this late hour. It was a good show. Sorry about the initial thing here. I don't know why my commercial didn't play, but I don't know. I'll figure it out later. Hopefully, the original file has audio because the purpose is other places, not YouTube. But anyways, I appreciate you guys being here and watching the show with me, and I appreciate those of you who are catching it on the replay. As always, check the description in the videos. You can find links to everything that I've got available. If you'd like a free consultation, just sign up there. It says discovery call. Just click that link, grab a day and a time that works for you, and we can wrap for 30 to 60 minutes and see what's ailing you, and maybe we can set you on the right path. Okay, until next time, take it easy, guys.